Welcome to Founders Future, a podcast powered by Closers.io, where we dive into the journeys of innovative entrepreneurs and explore the road ahead for them and their companies. I'm your host, Ammar, and in each episode, we uncover the stories behind impactful ventures, the challenges faced along the way, and the strategies driving their future growth. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to have Philip Brown, the founder of the Negotiation Club, a unique and dynamic training platform that redefines how professionals practice and master the art of negotiation. With a mission rooted in repetition and real time feedback, the Negotiation Club has built a community and curriculum that goes beyond theory and into real world performance. Philip, welcome to Founders Future.
Hello, and thank you so much for having me on there.
Yeah, I am excited to have you. This is a very interesting topic for me, so this is going to be a lot of fun. But I always like to start from the beginning. So take us back to before you started the negotiation club. What were you doing at that time, and what was the motivation behind starting the company?
Frustration. Frustration is what got me on this pathway. And I'll give you the reason. My background is procurement, negotiations, super important. And I'd been on loads and loads of courses. And the way I obviously explain this is that being a bloke, I'd often forget things pretty quickly. So I got on these wonderful training courses, but within a few weeks, I'd have forgotten everything that was going on. And it was really frustrating because they can be very expensive as well,
Yeah.
these negotiation courses. I decided to do something about it, and I wanted to practice negotiation skills. And that was the kind of the kernel, that was the thought process. I want to practice with other people. And that was really where I started. 6 or 7 years ago, it was this idea of creating negotiation clubs and literally saying, okay, how do I do that? And that's where it started, the frustration with what was already out there.
Did you want to learn negotiation out of necessity in terms of you needed it for a position at work, or is it just out of curiosity and intrigue?
The first negotiation course I went on was when I was 10 years old. My
That's
father used
wild.
Yeah, my father used to teach negotiation as a course back in the early 1980s to procurement people. So I had a very early introduction to this skill that is used in business and throughout. And of course, when I went into procurement, negotiation is definitely one of those skills you need in negotiation contracts all the time. And put it this way, right now in the news, negotiation seems to be the main key words out there. Trade deals, China, you name it. It's all around negotiations. Now, the question is, does anybody know how to negotiate? As part of my job in procurement, it was a fundamental requirement. And yet, you never do any negotiation courses or training before or during your student years. So you come into the business world and suddenly you've got to be able to negotiate.
Yep.
Again, absolutely crazy. So it's almost like a sink or swim mentality that's out there at the moment.
For the listeners that might not know, what's procurement?
So procurement is basically the function within a business that's responsible for acquiring goods and services to
Mm,
make that business run. Generally speaking, if it's a small business, it's normally the business owners who would do a lot of that. They have the authority to buy goods and services. But if you get into a big company, you tend to have a function that's responsible for it. You have
got it.
exactly the same skill sets in sales, for example. They're on the other side, they're selling their goods and services. Procurement is buying those goods and services.
I see. That makes perfect sense. So you went to a negotiation class when you were 10 years old, and it was centered around procurement?
It's centered around buying and selling. So yeah, it didn't matter whether
Got
you're
it.
selling or buying, it's the same skill sets.
Very cool. Okay, let's fast forward to today so the listeners can get more of an understanding of your company. So help us understand, do you serve a specific niche of people? Is there a specific ICP that you focus on? And then also, what are the different offers and services that the Negotiation Club offers?
So in terms of who would benefit from the type of services that I deliver, I think when you stand back, negotiation is one of those skill sets that's used not only in business, but obviously in personal lives as well. And it's used in any function of a business. So, in terms of who would be my ideal client, I've got the worst answer in the world, which is it's everybody,
Oh, no.
and that is just it always scuppers me. But
Yeah.
I will say I truly enjoy supporting the next generation, the students, the young entrepreneurs, the people doing MBAs. Because when I came out of university, I literally, like I said, you dropped in the deep end. suddenly you're responsible for negotiating. And I want to make a change.
Yeah.
I want to literally help other trainers, other tutors teach negotiation in a way that people can practice it. But I'm also providing that forum for people to come along and practice it for themselves, hence the clubs aspect of it. So the clubs is a big part. And I run several clubs, and quite frankly, I have everybody from literally students to business owners to large corporate CEOs who come along and practice.
Yeah. So break that down a little bit for us. So if I'm listening to this and I'm interested in joining your club, what does it actually look like to be a client? Is there one-on-one coaching that you do? Is there a group coaching? Is there obviously get-togethers and workshops? Help me understand that a little bit further.
Okay, you can imagine we know what a sports club is. Football club, baseball, cricket, whatever it is. You go along and you practice. So you go along, you train, you practice with your colleagues, and then when you go out and you actually got a proper match or a competition, then hopefully through that training and that practice, you're going to be much, much better.
Mm,
Think of the negotiation club as exactly the same.
okay.
People come together on a regular basis. So I run the negotiation clubs online. So we meet twice each month,
Okay.
and it's a structure. So you come along, we use negotiation cards, which is a resource that I had to create in order to be able to practice negotiations because there's no other resources to be able to do it. And what we do then is we have a supportive community. We
Okay.
practice, we give feedback, and we reflect and then develop upon that. So
Mm,
literally it's a continuous sort of practice, and then you use what you basically learned, but also the confidence you get from it. You use that in the real world negotiations,
yeah.
and it does make a massive difference.
I bet. Very cool. So you earlier when we before we started recording, you mentioned Kajabi. So I'm assuming there's some sort of content that people can come in and consume.
Yeah, so a lot of what I do is content driven in the sense that there's plenty of information out there. But what I am doing is building up my website. So if you go to the website, it literally has plenty of different techniques and tactics that people can read about. But of course, you also then have the opportunities to join clubs.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to open new clubs. They're all online, so it doesn't matter where you are in the world, but I'm opening them at different times of the day because some people, for
Mm,
example, in the States, they want to start at 7 in the morning, do it before they go to work. Others, they want to finish it afterwards. So I'm starting to create more clubs. So if you go along, you can start to see, for example, the Warwick Club, which just happens to be where I'm based. But we got the Gold Online Club, we got the Student Club, we will have the Resilient Club as well.
got
And
it.
really the names are just there just to create that kind of this is a group.
Yeah.
But the website Kajabi is also a platform used for training and coaching. I'm using it to provide one-on-one coaching. There are lessons on there, and there's obviously the ability to buy the negotiation cards. So you don't have to be with me to practice. You can practice with yourselves or with colleagues, with family.
Yeah. Help me understand. I'm glad you mentioned the one-on-one coaching because I was curious if there was even an aspect to that because I think there's a lot of people listening that would be interested in something like that. Now, you've got the one-on-one coaching and then you've got the clubs. Are the clubs like subscription where, hey, I'll be in this for XYZ per month, and then the coaching is we work together for a couple months? I'm just trying to wrap my head around what a typical client engagement looks like.
So, for example, if you were to join the club, you would come along, you would practice with others on a regular basis. Now,
Got it.
in between that, the question is, what would you do? So,
Mm,
what we can do and what I do is then I sometimes provide coaching in between. Each of the clubs are recorded, they go up to your own personal library, so you can go back and then reflect and look at yourselves and also go and look at the feedback you've got.
yeah.
But it also gives us the opportunity for me and you then to have a conversation, to give you some challenges, maybe even to have a practice between ourselves,
Mm,
just to start to build up your own awareness and knowledge.
yeah.
To be honest, it doesn't have to be complex. Negotiation is not complex. The skills and the techniques you use, they're transferable, they're interchangeable. It doesn't matter what industry is, doesn't matter what experience you've got. It's still the same skills.
Mm,
So what I'm trying to do is I'm just trying to encourage people to practice at that level.
yeah. Yeah, that's huge. A lot of people don't role play skills in life. Like I know when I was first starting off in sales, objection handling drills and doing all that stuff is critical, right? It's very
Yep.
important to do. Same thing with negotiation. Now, if we were to look at the back end of the business a little bit in terms of how do you actually grow your club and bring people in from a customer acquisition perspective, walk us through your lead generation process and your client acquisition. What does that look like?
So there's several different avenues for that. Like I said, I do a lot of content-based elements on the website to try and encourage people who are looking. And quite frankly, I get people who are just looking to improve their negotiation skills, come across us, and they
Yeah.
join almost out the blue. I haven't come across anybody where I can practice. This
Yeah.
sounds great. They join that way. The other way that I do it is through, I run like a regular monthly taster session. And
Okay.
it's a free session. It's every fourth Thursday. People come along and we literally get you to practice your negotiation skills. It's
Mhm.
really simple. It's a lot
Got
of
it.
fun, very safe. And the reason I do that is it's not something you can put as a video out there and say, just watch this video, because it's a personal skill. And I often say to people, you can watch all the videos in the world, you can read all the books in the world, but if you're not practicing it,
Yeah.
it's going to make no difference to you. The tasters are a wonderful way of literally experiencing it, recognizing that there is a different way to learning this skill, and also finding out that it's actually fun to learn this skill because negotiation is a bit like public speaking. People feel very wary. You've just said it, rejections in negotiations, both getting rejections and making rejections. And the more you practice it, the more comfortable you get. Tasters, getting people to experience it is part of my funnel.
Yep.
Content, SEO, trying to capture people through the website. And I think the other element is LinkedIn. I do a lot of LinkedIn, again, trying to engage with a particular community. But LinkedIn is a bit funny nowadays. They're obviously a commercial beast, so it's very difficult to build that type of traction.
Yeah. Do you use Sales Navigator on LinkedIn?
No, I did have a play with it a while back. Now, I've been on LinkedIn for many years, and before Sales Navigator came up, I started to use tags on my contacts. Here's a
Yeah.
supplier, here's a friend, here's a colleague, whatever it is. They took all of that away. They started to add other stuff. They made Sales Navigator.
Got
Um,
it.
I'm not a lover of Actually, I'll take that back. I don't use Sales Navigator, so I'm not going to say I'm not a lover of it. I just find that it's another expense for a small business, which,
Hmm.
unless you're really going to be focused on it, you're not necessarily going to get the best value out of it. But
Fair
I'm
enough.
not anyway.
Fair enough. No, I respect that. What have you found to be the most effective form of lead generation?
I, although I don't use Sales Navigator, I still use the search function. So you can still obviously search out and connect it with people. So I think if I was to say one of the main routes historically has been connecting on LinkedIn, creating a dialogue, and then working through that. I think a lot of people already do that. But like I said, I'm finding that if I put all of my eggs into one basket with LinkedIn, if they change something, which they have been, you're losing control.
Yeah.
So I would highly recommend people, particularly small businesses, is to start reinventing your websites, to start really putting some emphasis into the SEO side and capturing customers that way. We can get too tunnel visioned with
Yeah.
one solution, even Sales Navigator. So I would suggest just spread yourself
Yeah.
out a little bit. So I use LinkedIn, like I said, the website, the tasters, and
Mm.
trying to use social media as much as I can.
Yeah. I completely agree with you in the fact of you don't want to put your eggs all in one basket. One thing we talk about a lot on this podcast is the power of having a predictable lead generation machine. Knowing that you have a system in place that you can just turn the faucet on, turn it off, and get leads at will. And typically that's split up into two categories. You've either got paid acquisition or cold outbound that is systematized and is diligent on a daily basis and extremely consistent. So I guess when it comes to thinking about installing something like that, how do you wrap your head around that? And how do you choose to approach tackling the idea of predictability in business?
Okay, so there's a couple of questions in there. I think, like many businesses, particularly when you start off, it begins with a spreadsheet. You just put names of people down, you capture the emails, and then what I would do is every time I had a conversation with them, I'd add another column to explain what I said.
Got it.
Now I'm a Mac user, Apple Mac, and I end up using Daylight, which
Okay.
is a CRM system. And what I found with the CRM system is that you can create those funnels and those pipelines. So you have that kind of opportunity to create an opportunity and then to plan out all the touch points and how you're going to do that. And that's in there. I actually use Daylight a lot just to manage the training as well, because my training classes are over a period of time. So unlike, like I said, traditional where here's one day, mine's
Yeah.
over 4 weeks or 8 weeks. So
Yeah.
I use Daylight to be able to do that. So I think in terms of the funnel and the funnel management, that's where I'm at the moment. Kajabi also includes that, but I think the danger when you're small, again, as a small business, which I am, the danger is just having too many things to try and keep on top of every single day.
Yeah.
So it really does come down to mind over matter and being really rigid in saying, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do this. Every morning, just 20 minutes or 30 minutes focused on re-engaging, contacting, or doing the next step in that sort of funnel process. Saying that, I'm an absolute bugger, okay? I can't keep myself on those plans all the time and with consistency. So switching off the pipeline and then switching it on again, really tough, really, really tough. And I'm still learning. I think
Yeah.
most of us who come from business, set up our own business, do not realize all the other elements you have to control as well.
100%.
So
100%. I completely agree. It's a process of evolution and constant iteration and lifelong learning, and that's perfectly fine.
yeah.
When you think about your vision and where you want to take the company, let's say over the next 12 months, what are your top priorities? Are there any performance targets, revenue targets that you're aiming after? Paint me that picture.
So I wouldn't say, I'd probably get shot down here. I don't have any revenue targets as such at this stage, but my goal, my objective right now is to create a almost like a franchise guidance so
Mm,
that the challenge I have as a negotiation club owner
yeah,
is it's just me.
yeah,
So if I want to make Negotiation Club a global phenomena with thousands of members and hundreds of clubs, I can't do that on my own.
yeah,
So what I'm working on right now is trying to create those guides that could allow others to actually open and run their own negotiation clubs. A bit like Toastmasters. Same thing as
okay, very
Toastmasters,
cool.
yeah? So you know what to expect at a club. People who are familiar with negotiations and relatively expert in it could manage it. So, for example, if you were a negotiation trainer,
Yeah,
the challenge you have is that once you have delivered your training, you won't see those people again. You might tie in a 6 month review, you might come back in 6 months and you'll try all this other stuff, but that's it.
yeah,
But imagine you're a negotiation trainer and you deliver your training, but then everybody on that training then comes to your club, which you
yeah,
set up for them.
that's cool.
Now you've got a customer who's revenue generating every month.
Yeah,
And the moment that they think, oh, you know what, we want some more training, who are they going to go to? They're going to go to you because you're
yeah,
running the club. They know you're training.
yeah.
So if I can create the right structure for that, then I'd like to think by the end of the year, there is an opportunity for any trainer to come to me and say, you know what, Phil, I'd like to take on your model. Let's have a conversation.
I love that. That's powerful. Now, if somebody that's listening to this, obviously they're business owners, entrepreneurs, founders, can you briefly give us one tip when it comes to negotiation that will or that will greatly aid us in both our professional and personal lives?
Ooh. Where do I start? I normally say there are three specific techniques that you should be absolutely adept at. I mean, and I'll very quickly go over those, which is just asking questions, summarizing, and then using the if you, then we model, because negotiations is about movement. And most people forget that. They often get a no or they reject, and it's like the negotiation's over. That's not how it should be. But what I would say is for if you really want to have an impact in a negotiation, I would just simply consider pause, consider, respond.
Yeah.
Those three words. And the reason for that is in negotiations, you slow down, you'll take control of that negotiation. It means you might not jump into something and get yourself into trouble by giving something away. So it's just to slow down the negotiations. You don't have to respond. Now, the other thing is that when you do slow down, most individuals, when they get nervous, they tend to talk more. They tend to
Mm,
get louder. They fill the gaps in.
yeah.
And people recognize that. So if you just slow down, the other person is going to be thinking, ooh, okay, they're really thinking about it. They know what they're talking about. And even if you are super nervous, that is going to give you more credibility in that negotiation. So you don't even have to learn anything clever. It's just that mental ability just to slow it down, just to think about what's been said, think about what you're going to say, and then to articulate it. So for me, it's something as simple as that.
Yeah, I like that. That's super, super powerful. And it's like you said, it's simple, something we can implement and something we can be diligent with. Now, sorry, go for it.
No, go on, go on.
I was just gonna say, on we're cutting close on time. I wanted to ask you, what is the best way for people to reach out to you?
Just come through the website, the negotiation clubs, plural.com. Come along, you check out the website, send a connection or a query to me. And I'm always in favor of just jumping on a Zoom and having a conversation.
Awesome.
I cannot believe how few people do not have their contact information on LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And it's just impossible to have a connection. So, yeah, go through the website, just connect through me that way.
Awesome. Philip, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
So that wraps up another inspiring episode of Founders Future. To our listeners, if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts. And if you're looking to scale your business and really enhance your sales and marketing efforts, visit closers.io to discover how we can support your growth journey. Until then, keep on climbing.